Hello and welcome to another episode of Amy on Two Wheels. Today I'm once again very excited to have you join me as I go gallivanting around the Western Australian countryside, this time on my 2012 Ducati Monster 659. Let me show you the bike. Perfection. How can a bike be this good looking, hey? So, join me as I go flying through space on two wheels, exploring and discovering some new places together and having a chat along the way. Let's go. It's definitely a sports bike and not a dirt bike, but it's all right. It holds its own. I haven't ridden it for a while, I kind of forget how easy and fun and smooth and perfectly built and tuned this bike is. It really is a beautiful machine, like a masterpiece. I feel so relaxed. I feel present, I feel aware, I feel spatialized in a way that is like expansive, but also acute in its focus. I feel at ease on my bike. The wind is blowing out the cobwebs. My mind feels free. The countryside is beautiful. I am so chill. The zen of the motorcycle ride. We're nearly there. That went very fast. So we're visiting the historic town of York today. And our first stop is this building over here. How much metal is in the rocks out here. So this is my little speaker that I use, my little microphone that I use, and it's got a magnet on the back. I just dropped it on the floor and whoa. To own a truck like this would be an absolute dream for me. Like, that's it. That's the vehicle that I want. My Ducati will do though. So this building here is an old flour mill that they've turned into a cafe / antique shop. How Australian countryside is that? What a building. So anyway, I'm going to go in there and have some food. So I'm just popping into a health food store in the main street. I was going to walk here, but then I saw someone in the street getting swooped by a magpie, which is a very real and valid threat this time of year, and a good reason to not be on foot. So I thought I'd just ride the 500 meters that it took to get me here. And we're going into the Good Life store. Okay, so loaded up on some goodies, strapped my goodies to the bike. Today's my first day using this bag, and it's always a bit nerve-wracking the first time that you attach something to your bike. You're just not quite sure if it's going to stay. But so far, good. Okay. So this is York. Out in the desert. Now we begin our journey home, taking an alternate route. You know you're unprepared for a Western Australian summer when it's 30 degrees in spring and you are not cooking, but you're feeling it. Usually we're kind of brought to a slow boil, just slowly cranking the heat up so we don't realize that we're being boiled alive. And then by the time it gets to summer, we just think that it's normal. This is a windy road. I think this is going to be the fun way home. Purple flowers over there, I don't know if you can see them. I think that they're actually like a parasitic flower that takes over. That's so beautiful. And speaking of parasites, perhaps a life lesson that I learned that I can share with you today on our ride through the countryside is to beware the parasites. Yeah, I mean, certainly beware the physical organism parasites that live in your body and literally feed off you. But I'm talking more here about energetic parasites. People who, for for whatever reason can't, don't, or won't fill themselves up with energy, and instead take the supposed easier route of feeding off the energy of other people. And if you're watching my video, I have no doubt that you're at least a semi-conscious and semi-sensitive individual and human being, because they tend to be the people that I draw myself to. So I'm sure that you have at least some point in your life had the experience of relating with or spending time with people and coming away from those interactions and engagements feeling drained, like some of the life has been sucked out of you. And the other people come away from those interactions feeling better, having gained some kind of relief. I don't know where I'm going, so I'm like talking to you and figuring out where I'm going at the same time, from having spent time with you. And those people usually so in neutral those people usually tend to think that the relationship with you is a fantastic one. They think it's a great relationship and that you get on so well and that you're so good for each other, because every time they spend time with you again, it is great for them. They do feel better. They are uplifted for a period of time until they exhaust the energy that has been, that they have fed on. And then they come looking for another hit or another top up or another interaction, engagement or conversation that makes them feel better. And I'm not saying that these people are necessarily bad or evil. Often these people are kind of like the loneliest, the saddest, sometimes the traumatized, the dysfunctional, the broken in some kind of way. The ones that haven't been taught or haven't learned how to value themselves enough to put in the effort and the energy that is required and necessary to look after themselves and to make their lives a good one, to tend to their own emotions, their own feelings, their own mental state, and bring themselves a sense of peace and wholeness. And so they just look for that from other people or from situations or places or environments. And if you are a sensitive, empathic type of individual that has an abundance of love and has an abundance of energy and very naturally yearns to take care of and uplift other people, then it can be very tempting to enter into dynamics where we just give our energy away and we just feed and pump full the people behind us, the people around us, and desire for them to feel better. But as a long-term solution, it's dysfunctional. It's not good for you. So how long does it take you to recover from those kinds of engagements and interactions? It's like you've emptied your bucket. How long does it take for you to refill your bucket? How much of their emotional and mental struggle are you taking on as though it is your own? So then you have to spend the time and the energy on feeling through, harmonizing and kind of exhausting the negativity that you picked up. And how do you suppose in the long term that this kind of dynamic and relationship and dependency on other people is good for the people that you love? Ultimately, what you're doing is you're playing a role in keeping them incomplete and unsatisfied, and keeping them dependent and reliant on other people. So in your presence, they learn to continue to depend on others. You are ultimately proclaiming that it's okay to do it this way. And as much as you love the person and you might want them to feel better, the goal shouldn't be temporary relief, because it's always just going to be temporary relief. They'll feel better for a time, but having a temporary high does not heal the issues. It might put a band-aid over the issues, but the wound is still there and it's gaping and it's bleeding. And ultimately, it needs to be tended to, and eventually it must be tended to, or else it will end in some serious kind of physiological or psychological diseased state. So do you want the people that you love to be weakened in your presence? Do you want them to remain in a broken, fractured, and dependent state? Or do you want to encourage them to learn how to stand on their own 2 feet, to tend to themselves, and to ultimately become whole? And the way that you do that is not by continuously emptying your bucket to tend to other people. It's by ensuring that your bucket is full and that you are your own ideal embodiment and expression, authentic and true, and taking care of yourself first. And then from that space where your bucket is full, it begins to overflow. And then it is from this overflow that other people receive. So they're not taking what you need. They're not taking from you. They are able to partake of, drink of, bathe in the surplus, the excess, as your cup runneth over. And by doing this, they don't drag you down, and they also can't get high on you. They're just bathed in a kind of soothing and uplifting and hopefully empowering energy as you set an example. And that's the ideal, and the goal here is setting an example, being the example. And instead of being the band-aid that is laid over other people's wounds that continue to seep and bleed and pus underneath the band-aid, from your whole and complete and empowered state, teach others how to clean, stitch, and heal their own wounds so that they are not broken, so that they are not dependent on you, so they are not dependent on others, and they are whole and complete and a shining example of wholeness in and of themselves. And again, the way that you do that is to be it, be whole, be complete, be shiny, be bright, be strong, be compassionate, be loving, be wise, be integrated, be whole, be filled up with all that you need, providing yourself with all the resources that you need. And then from that space, allow your love and your presence to overflow into the environment around you, to touch the people that come into contact with you. And when asked, or when the opportunity arises, it's not about getting on a soapbox and preaching to everyone, because that's not respectful. But when an opportunity arises, or when asked, offer the kind of wisdom, insight, love, and support that will help that person to become empowered. They don't rely on you for the medicine. You teach them how to make the medicine. You show them how to make the medicine. You show them what the remedy is. and you empower them to be able to heal themselves. And that is the most empowering, loving, respectful, compassionate thing that you can do for the people that you love. It is the best way that you can express your love. So if you feel big love, fantastic. Feel big love here in you first, and teach others how to do the same. Don't just keep propping them up because you keep them small, broken, reliant, dependent, and unable to learn and grow through the experiences that have been set up and designed for them. Stop interfering in other people's growth and evolution by doing it for them. They must do it for themselves. That was a hard lesson for me to learn, but everything changed for me when I got that. And instead of carrying people on my shoulders, I was in a position where I could teach others how to develop and broaden their own shoulders and to become sovereign, empowered in their own right. How to heal. That guy was going slow, so he slowed down and waved me around him because he noticed I was there. And honestly, mostly, generally, the experience that I have riding a motorcycle here is an extraordinarily positive one in regards to other, drivers on the road. I haven't had anyone rage at me or try to block me from getting in front of them, or you're allowed to lane filter here, so if the traffic is dribbling along at 30 kilometers or an hour or less, you're allowed to go up through the middle. And I've never had anyone honk at me, try to stop me, get annoyed with me, try to block me. Like I've seen videos of people doing in other countries, which is just astounding. I have not experienced that at all. If anything, it's the opposite. And you can always tell who the people are who ride motorcycles, because when they hear you coming, even before they see you, when they hear you coming, they're already moving their car over in the lane to make sure that you have room to get past. So it's for me, it's been a really positive experience. Woohoo! She ups and goes. All right, well, that is all from me today. I had a good ride. And I'm very grateful to have had you join me, so thanks for sticking around. If you enjoy going on these little adventures with me, feel free to subscribe and follow along, and in amongst other things, I will show you some pool sites. Alright, I'll see you next time. See you!